Hello, welcome to Kmet Manifest's Master Your Mind short video. Today we'll discuss specific practices that can help you develop greater mental strength as well as share the scientific evidence we've uncovered that bolster the benefits of many of these practices. If it's your first time around at Kmet Manifest, we put out content every week on questions revolving around ancient spiritual knowledge, Kmetic Paganism, and Kmetic history. Join our community so you never miss any of our new content. And by the way, feel free to read up the full guide we published on our blog. This is simply a resume. So you'll find the link in the description. All right, now back to mastering our minds. A lot has been written about the concept of the mind and developing mental strength for greater success. We all know a lot of literature with regard to the law of attraction, mastering the mind, and developing good habits to last a lifetime. Yet really developing these practices consistently over time is quite difficult. It is especially difficult when faced with modern day challenges which seem to be designed to drain away our energy. Such drains can include social media, Wi-Fi, bills, expenses, broken relationships, environmental toxins, smartphones, alcohol, sugar, caffeine, the list goes on. Now, developing a strong mindset entails consistent practice over prolonged periods of time. It requires a sense of practicality and discipline that is all too often forgotten. It would be a mistake to think that the law of attraction is easy or that meditation will immediately alleviate depression. But if you seriously commit to developing your mindset so that you can focus on what you want over the long term, then the results will be life-changing. To do so, you'll need to learn to rely on yourself. Now, a core component of spiritual growth lies in removing all of the thought patterns that we've picked up when we were young. These were just programmed into us. When we learn to remove and reinstall different thoughts and beliefs, that's when we start to come into our true autonomy as masters of our minds. And this is partially why meditation is recommended across times and cultures. We are able to calmly observe our own thought patterns without reactions or involvement. This is one of the only ways that we can see things objectively. Otherwise, we tend to identify with, our gender, our political ideologies, our religion, nationality, or class. And we naturally see this as correct due to our limited life experience. People who do not understand the power of their own minds are largely lost as they cannot identify as conscious creators of their own reality. They will constantly find fault with the world and ask why it is so difficult to contend with. Understanding the power of thoughts is the first step to personal mastery. Now, let's talk about the insanity of the mind. From the perspective of spiritual systems, the mind is irrational, illogical, and insane. We're required to observe the mind and detach from it in order to see its dysfunction. But we can also observe this dysfunction on a grander scale with the wars, hate, environmental destruction, racism, sexism, homophobia, political attacks, broken relationships, government spying programs, smartphone addictions, health problems, and more. Something is a little dysfunctional with the human populace, and this is a result of millions of minds not being in the right place. Now, when we talk about mastering our minds, we wanted to focus on scientific discoveries, evidence, psychological observations that to us seem to support our argument. Now, these are some scientific discoveries and psychological observations which might be of interest in understanding how the mind works. First, the mind cannot distinguish between real and imaginary. Second, 95% of your activity is subconscious. Try being consciously aware of every key you type on your computer and you will not make any progress. Third, your subconscious has stored everything that has ever happened to you, much like a gigantic computer. Fourth, we are bombarded with 2 million bits of data every second. If It is the job of the subconscious to filter through all of this. Fifth, most of your energy expenditure goes toward the brain. Period. These discoveries, they have important implications. If the majority of our lives are fulfilled by the subconscious, it follows that we should try to manipulate our subconscious mind as opposed to our conscious abilities, like Carl Jung says, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Now, the point of this video is to go through exactly how to develop your mental strength, right? Now, understanding that your thoughts determine your environment and that you can command your thoughts is the first step. But committing to a daily routine of developing mental and emotional strength is something else entirely. It takes discipline, character, and patience. The idea that we can just manifest what we want is a little misguided. The fact is that you may have spent the last 30 or 40 years literally anti-manifesting, focusing on worry and stress, eating the wrong foods, in toxic relationships with limiting beliefs that have been with you since childhood. These are not removed overnight. It can take years to rid yourself of certain thoughts and ideas, and you have to be constantly vigilant about what you're thinking and what you're consuming. You can try first experimenting with exercise. Thankfully, there are many ways to increase your mental and emotional power, and it has never been easier to embark on a campaign of self-development than it is today with all of the resources at your disposal. We have all the tools. We just need some willpower and determination. And one basic way to build mental strength is with an exercise routine. Write out your goals and objectives and see if you can stick with them. This might seem like very basic and fundamental advice, but both diet and exercise provide valuable insights into our behavior, and they're the two foundational modalities that mental strength can be built upon. If you do not keep track of the fundamentals, you will run into difficulties later. So trying to become a master of the mind while staring at the TV all day and eating ice cream is just not realistic. Diet and exercise can be used to build a strong character and a healthy body and mind. Second, you could experiment with dieting, because it's another place to start developing mental strength. I think we all understand that we will function better without caffeine, sugar, ice cream, and other processed products. Yet many people cannot go a single week without those items, which clearly disturb mental well-being. Try and see if you can go on a certain diet for a week, and when you don't stick to it, try and examine why this is the case. You'll begin to realize how affected you are by the environment, how just being in a shop or entering a restaurant caused you to act instinctively and buy an item that you knew was unhealthy. In other words, your environment determined your behavior. Talking about environment, I mean, the importance of the surrounding environment could not be overstated. For mental strength, try to manipulate your environment first. And this way you'll be taking away the opportunity to fail. Manipulating the environment for mental strength will mean that you make use of the concept of minimalism as much as possible. The less information and distractions you have in general, the clearer the mind will be. So clean your room and your office, even the files on your PC. This will have a positive impact on your mental well-being. People who tend to hoard items find fresh mental energy when they let go of their many possessions and send them to the trash heap. Limit the time you spend on television and switch off your phone at night. Eliminating cable is also a good idea. Another point that I want to make about these steps: advertising, the media, mainstream media, social media. These are all negative mental devices. If the majority of our actions are subconscious and advertising and media are specifically aimed at manipulating our environment, and they have a large say in how we behave, we need to take this into consideration. Scientific data has shown that people are victims of advertising even when they view themselves as impervious. When we see something, our conscious minds might not take it in, but our subconscious most certainly does. So almost by default, we are all victims of the surrounding environment, which is aimed at subverting our actions, and it does an excellent job, given that consumerism is running rampant, and people are now paying nearly $1,000 for phones alone, while morals and ethics fall by the wayside. If you're serious about developing your mind, then it needs to be as clear as possible. So reduce your exposure to advertising and media where appropriate. Media is largely negative anyway, and your subconscious mind is simply going to ingest negative material which will be reflected in your conscious daily activities. It's never a good idea to actively seek out this negative information. Okay, now let's talk about the best practices for serious mental development. Like, what do you actually do every day? Once you have a good environment with a reasonable diet and regular exercise, you can investigate these practices that are more directly orientated towards mental development. Remember that everything you do is stretching the mind to some degree or another, whether it is diet, exercise, writing, or walking. But we need to use the most direct methods, and we also want to avoid patterns that do not expand the mind. The following are the best practices for you to really master your own personal psychology. And if you want to proceed rapidly, then undertake one or a number of these models. How often and what intensity you want to do with these practices is really up to you. But you'll find that as you move forward, you'll find a balance, and there is a regimen that works for you. Okay, the first practice we'll talk about is meditation. Meditation should come as no surprise to anyone, is the best kind of practice for mental development. It involves sitting quietly and observing the movements in the mind. After a period of time, the mind starts to quieten and become less frantic. You will become less reactive to outside events and be able to monitor and control your thoughts more efficiently. The two most popular kinds of meditation are vipassana and transcendental meditation. Both of these have an extensive body of scientific literature pertaining to their benefits, and there is no excuse for not instigating a regular meditation routine. It's verified by science, practiced by many high-level individuals, and has historic roots in almost all spiritual systems. Twice a day for 20 minutes is the recommended time frame for optimal results. You can do morning and evenings. You can also consider an intense course for a week to really get started. Check out our videos on meditation and how to get started. I'm sure you'll find some valuable information there. A second practice is yoga. The practice of body movements involving the breath, concentration, balance, flexibility, and physical strength. When the movements are executed in a certain fashion, the practitioner comes into a flow state and can complete the whole hour-long routine effortlessly. The coordination of concentration, breathing, and physical exertion are perfect for subduing the mind. It is not possible to exercise the routine while the mind is active, as it gets in the way. So yoga is best completed when it becomes a regular habit that does not even require conscious thought. A third practice, fasting. Now, this might be just described as an extreme method. Fasting is one of the best ways to master your mind. Food is more important to a human being than anything else. Giving up food for a significant period of time can have many benefits and takes incredible willpower. Additionally, fasting is the only thing that has been proven to increase longevity in humans. And it's there are many kind of different fasting regimen you can go on, such as a water fast, a dry fast, a juice fast. Consider a 3-day juice fast once a month for an emotional and mental detox, for instance. Okay, fourth item, mindfulness. You might think, well, we've talked about meditation, mindfulness, same thing, different thing, but mindfulness takes many forms, and there are a wide variety of mindfulness practices. That is why we can't just say, well, this is vipassana meditation or this is transcendental meditation. It's not quite the same. It really involves being aware at regular intervals throughout the day. Mindfulness can be combined with meditation for maximum results. In meditation, we're deeply non-focused for 20 minutes or so, twice a day. With mindfulness, we're simply more aware of things at periods throughout our working day. For example, we might leave our desk every 40 minutes and just be mindful of our breath for a single minute to detach us from other tasks. Mindfulness is often linked with breathing, as this is a quick route to the present moment. Now, any passion, any activity that, any practice that's done with intensity or passion, if you can find something that you are really passionate about, then you can continue to focus with this single-minded intensity. This can include things like painting, singing, dancing, martial arts, creating a business, or anything that gives you really 100% of your mental attention, that you can put 100% of your mental attention towards. And because you won't have the time to energize negative thoughts or emotions, as all of your resources are aimed towards one particular activity. Immersion is another quick and possibly one of the best ways to improve your mental and emotional conditioning. It's also one of the hardest. Imagine if you spent a year learning Mandarin Chinese while simultaneously learning C programming and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It'd be an immensely difficult year for you. It would also be one of the most rewarding if you were able to pull it off. This is because each of these areas will teach your brain different things. When people learn things in a classroom, learning it's usually the worst kind. Rote memorization, reading from a screen, listening to a teacher. This is just not as healthy a way to learn things, and it's also very repetitive. The way that people learn is every bit as important as the subject matter. So learning a language while talking to people is nothing like learning grammar from a book. And trying to create a new program in a software language is different from learning it in a classroom. Learning all three of these is just not very realistic in the modern day environment, but you could consider doing one of them, at least part-time. And there are also different forms of immersion. We've already mentioned two of the best immersion strategies available, like intensive painting or intensive writing. Both of these draw on your creative faculty, so you make them stronger. And we know that creativity is an excellent tool that you can use in nearly any context. Once you open up your creativity just a little bit, you can build momentum and make innovation and the imagination as core components of your existence. But it always takes commitment and willpower at the start to immerse yourself in the creative process. Consider that Mark Zuckerberg publicly posted how he was going to spend a year learning Mandarin Chinese. Intelligent people are constantly looking for ways to expand their mental capacities. I also want to mention travel as one of the most common immersion strategies available. Learning how different people think and behave is excellent for contrast against your own personal values and beliefs. A stark example of this is when people of the West go to places like ancient Kmet or India and Thailand. While people in the West are goal-oriented and live in the future, people in these locales tend to live in the moment more. This is its own set of drawbacks, obviously, but you can see the different perspective there. Many people spend at least a year of their lives traveling. However, they tend to go wrong about it. They often do it near the end of their lives and try to fit in as many places as possible, like ticking boxes of a checklist. I feel when traveling, it's best to spend longer time periods in a set location to really imbibe the culture. Listen, you can immerse yourself in anything. Try to immerse yourself in minimalism for a month. No TV, smartphone, no unhealthy food, no social media, no computer, a clean desk, a clean room, a small set of clothes. Remember that 21 days is the time it takes to incorporate a habit. So if you manage to follow through with something for over 21 days, then you can carry this habit forward with far less effort than when you started out. Now, there are a wide variety of ways to develop your mindset for greater success, both personally and financially. A good place to get started is diet, exercise, meditation, and affirmations. These are the most straightforward and effective ways to get the mind under control in a very tangible way. Once you have a solid grasp on these, you can consider immersion techniques and creative processes to really expand your awareness. But remember that developing a mindset will become a lifelong but thoroughly enjoyable experience, and you just need to troubleshoot negative beliefs and emotional issues for a while before you can really expand. Listen, thanks for sticking with us for the entire video. Like I said, please feel free to check out the guide we wrote on our blog. It goes into a lot more detail, and yeah, if you like our content, yeah, subscribe, share, like, comment, and see you later.